Have you ever felt like you had to separate who you are from what you do at work? In this video, I am sharing how a new hire experience brought me to my knees, privately at first, and then led me to speak openly about my faith. And more importantly, what that moment revealed about alignment, purpose, and God's mercy, even after we've made mistakes. If you've ever felt misaligned, stuck, or like you're surviving instead of living with intention, this is for you. And the surprising part, this did not happen in church. It happened at work. A few days into my new role at Mission Aviation Fellowship, MAF, I was watching a training video alone in my workspace. The video showed the people MAF serves, some of the most isolated communities on earth. People far from roads, far from resources, far from any kind of help. And suddenly, I recognized my life. That was my life. I saw my past. Not who I am today, but who I was decades ago. I remembered what it felt like to believe that survival is your destiny, that life will never get better. And right there, in my workspace, I knelt down and worshiped. I wept. God met me there privately. But that moment didn't stay private. A few days later, we had our in-person new hire class. They showed a different video, one featuring MAF staff who had actually lived the life of the people we served. They got an experience for a few days. Extreme isolation, no access, no safety net. And instantly, I understood why that first moment mattered. When they opened the floor for comments, I shared. I couldn't hold back. I talked about what had happened a few days earlier, kneeling at my desk after that first video. And I shared a little bit about my past life, the hopelessness, the survival mindset, the belief that this was just how life would always be. I was so hopeless. And something shifted. I felt free for the first time, sharing my faith at the workplace. And that freedom was completely new for me. In the last 15 years of my career in data analytics, and yes, I work with data, I've never felt free to talk about my faith at work. And maybe you feel the same way. I've always been very careful, filtered, professional. So, standing there at MAF, fully myself, was such relief. Think about it. We spend most of our lives working. If the place where you spend the majority of your working hours requires you to hide who you are, that costs something. Alignment matters. When you finally stop pretending and become authentic, you realize how flawed you are and just how much you need God to fulfill the purpose He created you for. So life actually means something. And God didn't start teaching me this at work. When I was in grade school, I walked to school every day. After school, I helped my mom sell vegetables so we could survive. That life felt fixed, like destiny. But God was already at work. And one moment in second grade made that clear. My best friend Gladys and I were walking home from St. Anne's Primary School in Kaboa, Uganda. Some of you might recognize that. We realized we weren't always good kids. You know how you feel like you do bad things, you lie, you steal little things here and there. And that, that caused us to repent. And we felt so bad. We felt sorry. We wanted to ask for forgiveness. And so we knelt beside a half-built pit latrine near a church and cried our hearts out. And the presence of God met us there. 2 little kids, second graders. And that second grade moment, it is just one of the many times God has interrupted my life. Sometimes those interruptions were gentle, meant to encourage me along the path that felt so long. Other times, they came after seasons I'm not proud of. There were choices I made that were deeply misaligned with who God created me to be. I am not proud of them. Some of them are too painful to share. And it took a lot of grace for me to finally agree with God that I had messed up. But His mercy is greater than my mistakes. He didn't meet me with condemnation. He met me with mercy, with grace. So if you're listening to this and thinking, I've gone too far, I want you to know you haven't. God's mercies are new every morning. Not because we deserve them, but because that's who He is. Every interruption, even the painful ones, was an invitation to return. He says that if you return, I will bring you back. That's why the moment at MAF wasn't random. The same God who met me as a child met me again, decades later, at work. God has been interrupting my life with His presence for as long as I can remember. The Lord gives each of us only a few years on this earth. We live them intentionally and impact those around us only when we are authentic to who we are. When we stop resisting what God is doing in us and let Him align us with the purpose He created us for. I am His, and He is mine. Great is His faithfulness. If this resonated with you, share it with someone who might need hope. And if you've ever felt God interrupt your life, especially after you thought you had gone too far, I'd love to hear your story. Have a blessed day, my friends, and I will see you here very soon in the next one. Bye for now.